Heaven is the decision I must make. Heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now and will not change my mind, because it is the only thing I want. Heaven is the decision I must make. Heaven is the decision I must make. Thank you all so much for joining me today, studying A Course in Miracles Workbook for Students. We're ready for Lesson 138. Heaven is the decision I must make. We're reading from the original edition in A Course in Miracles Workbook for Students here on Thursday, May the 18th of 2023. Heaven is the decision I must make. In this world, heaven is a choice, because here we believe there are alternatives to choose between. We think that all things have an opposite, and what we want, we choose. If heaven exists, there must be hell as well. For contradiction is the way we make what we perceive, and what we think is real. Creation knows no opposite, but here is opposition part of being real. Let's see if I can make this to where it doesn't make so much noise, as it's the wind's blowing a little bit here. And I should have had this all set up beforehand, but I think I've got it now. It is this strange perception of the truth that makes the choice of heaven seem to be the same as the relinquishment of hell. It is not really thus. Yet what is true in God's creation cannot enter here unless it is reflected in some form the world can understand. Truth cannot come where it could only be perceived with fear, for this would be the error truth can be brought to illusions. Opposition makes the truth unwelcome, and it cannot come. Choice is the obvious escape from what appears as opposites. Decision lets one of conflicting goals become the aim of effort and expenditure of time. Without decision, time is but a waste and effort dissipated. It is spent for nothing in return, and time goes by without results. There is no sense of gain, for nothing is accomplished, nothing learned. You need to be reminded that you think 1,000 choices are confronting you, when there is really only one to make. And even this but seems to be a choice. Do not confuse yourself with all the doubts that myriad decisions would induce. You make but one, and when that one is made, you will perceive it was no choice at all, for truth is true, and nothing else is real. There is no opposite to choose instead. There is no contradiction to the truth. Choosing depends on learning, but the truth cannot be learned but only recognized. In recognition, its acceptance lies, and as it is accepted, it is known. But knowledge is beyond the goals we seek to teach within the framework of this course. Knowledge is beyond the goals we seek to teach within the framework of this course. Ours are teaching goals to be attained through learning, how to reach them, what they are, and what they offer you. Decisions are the outcome of your learning, for they rest on what you have accepted as the truth of what you are and what your needs must be. In this insanely complicated world, heaven appears to take the form of choice rather than merely being what it is. Of all the choices you have tried to make, this is the simplest, most definitive, the prototype of all the rest, the one which settles all decisions. If you could decide the rest, this one remains unsolved. But when you solve this one, the others are resolved with it, for all decisions but conceal this one by taking different forms. All we're trying to do is make a decision between truth and illusion. You might think of it as judgment and forgiveness. Here is the final and the only choice in which is truth accepted and denied. So we begin today considering the choice that time was made to help us make. Such is its holy purpose, now transformed from the intent you gave it, that it be a means for demonstrating hell is real. Hope changes to despair, and life itself must in the end be overcome by death. In death alone are opposites resolved, for ending opposition is to die, and thus salvation must be seen as death, for life is seen as conflict. To resolve the conflict is to end your life as well. These mad beliefs can gain unconscious hold of great intensity and grip the mind with terror and anxiety so strong that it will not relinquish its ideas about its own protection. It must be saved from salvation, threatened to be safe, and magically armored against truth. And these decisions are made unaware to keep them safely undisturbed, apart from question and from reason and from doubt. Heaven is chosen consciously. Heaven is chosen consciously. The choice cannot be made until alternatives are accurately seen and understood. All that is veiled in shadows must be raised to understanding, to be judged again, this time with heaven's help. And all mistakes in judgment which the mind had made before are open to correction, as the truth dismisses them as causeless. Now are they without effects. They cannot be concealed because their nothingness is recognized. The conscious choice of heaven is as sure as the ending of the fear of hell, when it is raised from its protective shield of unawareness and is brought to light. Who can decide between the clearly seen and the unrecognized? Yet who can fail to make a choice between alternatives when only one is seen as valuable, the other as a wholly worthless thing, a but imagined source of guilt and pain? Who hesitates to make a choice like this? And shall we hesitate to choose today? I hope not. We make the choice for heaven as we wake and spend 5 minutes making sure that we have made the one decision that is sane. So we're going to take a 5-minute period when we first wake up. We make the choice for heaven as we wake and spend 5 minutes making sure that we have made the one decision that is sane. We recognize we make a conscious choice between what has existence and what has nothing but an appearance of the truth. Its pseudo-being, brought to what is real, is flimsy and transparent in the light. It holds no terror now, for what was made enormous, vengeful, pitiless with hate, demands obscurity for fear to be invested there. Now it is recognized as but a foolish, trivial mistake. Before we close our eyes and sleep tonight, we reaffirm the choice that we have made each hour in between. And now we give the last 5 minutes of our waking day to the decision with which we awoke. So another 5 minutes in the evening as we started our day, and then during the day, a moment of remembering every hour. As every hour passed, we have declared our choice again in a brief, quiet time devoted to maintaining sanity. And finally, we close the day with this, acknowledging we choose but what we want. Heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now and will not change my mind, because it is the only thing I want. So that last paragraph, let's read it once again. Before we close our eyes and sleep tonight, we reaffirm the choice that we have made each hour in between. And now we give the last 5 minutes of our waking day to the decision with which we awoke. As every hour passed, we have declared our choice again in a brief, quiet time devoted to maintaining sanity. We want to take an hour, a minute, maybe a minute. You don't even have to take that long, of every hour devoted to maintaining our sanity. Seems like a good investment. And finally, we close the day with this, acknowledging we choose but what we want. So here's what we should tell ourselves throughout the day, and we begin our day and we end our day with, heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now and will not change my mind, because it is the only thing I want. All right, let's go look in our text reading for today in chapter 15, The Purpose of Time, section 3, Time and Eternity. And it's only about a page and a half. We'll read the whole thing today. While you're turning there, I'm still here in downtown Springfield at the hospital, and I think they're gonna let it's Jessica that ended up having a little need, and so we hope that she gets to go home today. But I always find a nice little place in nature, even in the middle of town. I'm in front of a yew bush. I plopped myself down here in front of. I want to tell you a little bit about a yew tree or a yew bush. They're in the family Taxaceae, which we don't usually talk about families, but know that there's the species. Well, first there's the cultivar, then there's the species, and then there's the genus, and then the category beyond the genus is the family. And the family of these yew bushes is I think it's Taxaceae, and it's the genus Taxus. And there's 8 species of yews in North America, actually just in the northern hemisphere there's about 8, and I don't know which species this is, but all parts are poisonous except for the red berries. I didn't do the check to see whether or not if they're not poisonous, that was what I understand. But the plant itself, some people can break out just by touching it. But anyway, it is poisonous. And a taxus. I didn't want to really talk about the taxus, but if sitting down before it, I thought, well, that'd be a nice thing. Let's learn a little bit about it. What on earth is going on today here on Thursday, May the 18th, 2023? It's Ascension Day, the Ascension of Jesus. 40 days after Easter, Jesus, the resurrected Christ, ascended back into heaven, as the story in the Bible goes. Brown Baggot Thursday, Global Accessibility Awareness Day, which is basically Digital Access Day. Maybe it ought to be called that. And it may be tomorrow. I saw both the 19th and the 18th. International Museum Day and National Museum Day. And the theme in 2023 for museums is sustainability and well-being. Mother Whistler Day, a day to celebrate whistling. Anyway, National Cheese Souffle Day, and by a souffle, a cheese souffle is a baked rather than a fried omelet, as I understand it. National No Dirty Dishes Day, and every time I put my hands in the water to wash dishes, I kind of go into a kind of a meditation. It's actually I actually like doing it. When I first had the chore of taking care of all my children, when my wife made her crossing, and I had 6 children that were all in the ages between 10 months old and 10 years old, I had a lot of dishes to do. And I called my teacher one day. I said, Charlie, I'm not able to do my long meditations, because I was trying to spend 6-8 hours a day in meditation, which I didn't always do, but I really made an effort to spend most of my day in meditation. In 1992 it was. And then after she crossed over at the end of that year, I was having a very difficult time. And he said, oh, Will, he laughed, and he said, you have children to do, you're a householder. He said, learn to bring your meditation to your work. And he gave me the example. When you put your hands in the water and I looking out the window, let that be a meditation. So I started doing laundry and washing dishes with a little more awareness and a little joy in my heart, instead of feeling so out of sorts. National Notebook Day. Encourage children to use notebooks creatively. National Visit Your Relatives Day. Reminds me of the Lakota word, Matakwiasan. We are all related. Ahoa, Matakwiasan, as they say in the Sioux language. And we're all related. Send an electronic greeting card day and World's AIDS Vaccine Day. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about May Queen Butterhead lettuce out of Baker Creek Heirloom Seed. The May Queen, this delicate butterhead, is crowned jewel of the heirloom garden. Tender yellow hearts are gently blushed rose, and the leaves are ethereally soft with the buttery sweet flavor signature of an old-fashioned European butterhead type lettuce. And that's your Lactuca sativa. Remember yesterday we did the Lactuca, the Lactuca virosa. And I thought it was really interesting that here I'm learning about herbs in the parking lot or in the garden. And it was a weed that was coming up in the nice garden of the hospital. But it has a lot of medicinal qualities. One of these days, maybe mankind will realize just how valuable the natural world is instead of making synthetics. Okay, let's see what else. Is there anything else I wanted to tell you about before we go read? Time and eternity. Ahoa Matakwiasan to all my relations. Time and eternity. The atonement is in time, but not for time. Being in you, it is eternal. What holds remembrance of God cannot be bound by time. No more are you. For unless God is bound, you cannot be. An instant offered to the Holy Spirit is offered to God on your behalf, and in that instant you will awaken gently in Him. In the blessed instant, you will let go all your past learning, and the Holy Spirit will quickly offer you the whole lesson of peace. Let's read that sentence again. In the blessed instant, you will let go all your past learning, and the Holy Spirit will quickly offer you the whole lesson of peace. What can take time when all the obstacles to learning it have been removed? Truth is so far beyond time that all of it happens at once. For as it was created one, so its oneness depends not on time at all. Do not be concerned with time, and fear not the instant of holiness, which will remove all fear. For the instant of peace is eternal, because it is holy without fear. The instant of peace is eternal, because it is holy without fear. It will come, being the lesson God gives you through the teacher He has appointed to translate time into eternity. Blessed is God's teacher, whose joy is to teach God's holy Son His holiness. His joy is not contained in time. His teaching is for you because His joy is yours. Through Him you stand before God's altar, where He gently translates hell into heaven. For it is only in heaven that God would have you be. 18. How long can it take to be where God would have you? How long can it take you to be where God would have you? For you are where you have forever been and will forever be, and all that you have forever. The blessed instant reaches out to encompass time, as God extends Himself to encompass you. You who have spent days, hours, and even years in chaining your brothers to your egos is an attempt to support it and uphold its weakness. Do not perceive the source of guilt. Again on that sentence. You who have spent days, hours, and even years in chaining your brothers to your egos in an attempt to support it and uphold its weakness, do not perceive the source of strength. And that word source is capitalized, source. Speaking of the Holy Spirit, God. In the holy instant, you will unchain all your brothers and refuse to support either their weakness or your own. In the holy instant, you will unchain all your brothers and refuse to support either their weakness or your own. 19. You do not realize how much you have misused your brothers by seeing them as sources of ego support. As a result, they witness to the ego in your perception and seem to provide reasons for not letting it go. Yet they are far stronger and much more compelling witnesses for the Holy Spirit, and they support His strength. It is therefore your choice whether they support the ego or the Holy Spirit in you, and you will know which you have chosen by their reactions. A son of God who has been released through the Holy Spirit in a brother, if the release is complete, is always recognized. He cannot be denied. As long as you remain uncertain, it can be only because you have not given complete release. And because of this, you have not given one single instant completely to the Holy Spirit. Wow, we want to start giving at least one complete instant. That's that holy instant where we merge with eternity and have eternal peace in the moment. It only takes an instant. You have not given one single instant completely to the Holy Spirit. For when you have, you will be sure you have. You will be sure because the witness to Him will speak so clearly of Him that you will hear and understand. 20. You will doubt until you hear one witness whom you have wholly released through the Holy Spirit. And then you will doubt no more. The holy instant has not yet happened to you, yet it will, and you will recognize it with perfect certainty. No gift of God is recognized in any other way. You can practice the mechanics of the holy instant and will learn much from doing so. Yet its shining and glittering brilliance, which will literally blind you to this world by its own vision, you cannot supply. And here it is, all in this instant, complete, accomplished, and given wholly. 21, last paragraph. Start now to practice your little part in separating out the holy instant. Start now to practice your little part in separating out the holy instant. You will receive very specific instructions as you go along. Just do your part. Do the best you can. Take that moment of quiet every hour today. To learn to separate out this single second and begin to experience it as timeless is to begin to experience yourself as not separate. Fear not that you will not be given help in this. God's teacher and His lesson will support your strength. It is only your weakness that will depart from you in this practice, for it is the practice of the power of God in you. Use it but for one instant, and you will never deny it again. Who can deny the presence of what the universe bows to in appreciation and gladness before the recognition of the universe, which witnesses to it? Your doubts must disappear. Okay, wow, isn't that beautiful? And, as I was, remember, we're supposed to take 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night, not too much time. You can take longer. But try to do that holy instant the best you can. Do the mechanics of it, and you'll be shown the glittering brightness of it. You'll merge with eternity. Okay, so let's sing what we're going to be saying today. Before I do, I want to tell you one more thing about the yew tree that I'm sitting in front of. In the Celts had a tree. They had it represented to the Celtic people immortality, because the tree has the ability to, with the big branches, will reach down when they touch the ground. Wherever they touch the ground, they'll grow another tree. So the old tree could even die, but the new tree will live. So it's a picture of immortality. So the yew tree is a picture of immortality to the Celts. Okay, let's see. Let me just listen to the song a moment. Whistling. Heaven is the decision I must make. Heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now and will not change my mind, because it is the only thing I want. Heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now and will not change my mind, because it is the only thing I want. Heaven is the decision I must make. Heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now and will not change my mind, because it is the only thing I want. Heaven is the decision I must make. Heaven is the decision I must make. Heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now and will not change my mind, because it is the only thing I want. I feel like I need to say what the Sioux would say to all of us as one. Ahoa matakwiyasan. Heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now and will not change my mind, because it is the only thing I want. Ahoa matakwiyasan. Thank you all so much for joining me. Ahoa matakwiyasan. Heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now and will not change my mind, because it is the only thing I want.